Hello and welcome back to Bookish and welcome to my Saturday Hodgepodge, my weekly wrap-up ramble about books, things bookish, YouTube things, whatever else I want to talk about. Since this is Halloween, the last day of October, the last day of Victober, I thought I would do my Victober wrap-up today and also do my Nonfiction November TBR to start off. So the Victober wrap-up, if you've been following my channel, you pretty much aware of the books I read, but I did read Barchester Towers by Anthony Trollope at the beginning of this month in this really cool, nice looking Everyman's Library edition, and I just loved the book. I thought it was delightful. I thought that Trollope was almost like a character in the novel where you feel his wry sense of humor, you feel his attitude and ideas about the characters in a much more personal way. I thought the writing was delightful, the characterization was great, the story was intriguing and well told. I just really loved it. But this Victober I decided to take my time, so it took me a good bit to read the book. It's around 550, 560 pages. So the second book I read was Jane Eyre. I think I've said this before. I would have sworn I read Jane Eyre in high school. But after a few chapters, it was clear to me that I'd never read this book. And if I was supposed to have read it, I didn't. And I just tried to bluff my way through the test. I love Jane Eyre. I thought it was great. I think Jane is a remarkable character. To have a female character in a book of this age assert her independence, stake a claim to her right to think and feel and do as she wants and do as she thinks best. It's just remarkable, and I will admit to having a little crush on Jane after reading the book and thinking that she was just kind of a remarkable person. By the way, when I talk about having a crush on a fictional character, this isn't a sexual thing. It's just kind of like, wow, I really admire that person, and I think if I'd been alive and if Jane Eyre were real and I'd known her, that she would have been somebody that I, had a crush on, that I fell in love with, that I wanted to spend time with, because she's a remarkable character, and the book was great, and I can see why it's a favorite of so many people here on BookTube, because it is a great novel. And then after that, and just recently, I finished reading The Odd Women by George Gissing. Gissing's kind of look at the evolving role, the changing world for women in the late Victorian period, and how marriage and marriage issues still affected them, and the choices they had, and the opportunities they had, and the consequences for women of poor choices or of unfortunate choices are in that book. And I really enjoyed it. I thought the writing was good. It is a little bit grim, so be advised about that. But I really thought it was a thought-provoking book, and I enjoyed it. And then just most recently, I finished Dr. Jekyll and Mr Hyde by Robert Louis Stevenson. Stevenson is my every year Victober author. 3 years of Victober, 3 Stevenson books. I read Treasure Island, I read Kidnapped, and now I've read what really is a novella, Dr. Jekyll and Mr Hyde, and I enjoyed it. I think Stevenson is underrated. Oftentimes I think people either associate him just with this short novel novella, or they associate him with Treasure Island and Kidnapped, which we have a tendency to think of as children's books, and they're really not. There are young men slash boys the central characters in both those books, but his books are not children's books, and to dismiss them as such, I think, means you miss a real writing talent. Stevenson's ability to create atmosphere, to create setting, to create characters, particularly his ability to create interior spaces that seem to come alive, that seem to be really real, are on display here as they were in the other books. But those were my 4 Victober reads, and I did try to take it easy this month in terms of scheduling reading, because with the election coming up on Tuesday, I knew my tension, being a really political person, I knew that my tension level would rise, and I didn't want to overburden myself with reading. At the same time, I hope that my Victober reading might distract me from the problems of today's world and today's United States of America, and they certainly did that. So it was welcome. I also was supposed to read A Mercy by Toni Morrison. This is a part of the Toni Morrison 2020 read-along group. We're supposed to read every novel by Toni Morrison, and October's novel was A Mercy. I did not get to that, but I do plan on starting it today and finishing it up hopefully at the beginning of Nonfiction November. It's not really a very long book. I think it comes in right around 200 pages, and the print is big. So hopefully be able to get that in as well. And then there'll be another Morrison book to read in November, which I'll schedule as well. Anyway, there's my, October, Victober wrap up. And so now on to Nonfiction November TBR. My ambitions for Nonfiction November are a little bit higher. Hopefully the election will leave me on kind of a high note, and I'll enthusiastically dive into my nonfiction readings. I have 2 buddy reads for November. The first is a buddy read with Shawn that Shawn the Book Maniac put together, and it involves Justin from AKA Ghost Reader and Roz from Scallydandling about the books, and we're going to be reading our fellow booktuber Hannah Joyner's book Unspeakable, the Story of Junius Wilson. It's a story of injustice and racism in the South. It's supposed to be a really powerful read, and I look forward to not only reading with the excellent buddy readers I have as part of my group, but also I look forward to reading Hannah's words in her work, because that should be really special. So we're going to be reading this book throughout the month, checking in once a week, and so that's a pretty reasonable schedule. I also have scheduled a buddy read with Noelle, and Noelle's channel name is Bookrook, but Noelle doesn't make videos. She is a commentator or commenter, and she is one of our great commenters on BookTube, and you may have seen her logo and her name in your comment section. If so, you're lucky. She's very insightful. She really loves books, and she's a great member of our community. She and I are going to be reading SPQR, A History of Ancient Rome. This is kind of an overview, popular history of ancient Rome by Mary Beard. It came out probably, 10 plus years ago, and it was really popular and really well received, and I've been wanting to read it for a long time. I think I mentioned it in a video in September, and Noelle asked me, if this is something I might want to buddy read. I think that's how it went, and I said yes. So we're going to try to read this throughout the month as well. Again, we're going to be checking in once a week, and this is going to require a reading of around 120, 130 pages a week, which is going to be a lot more challenging considering, other reads that I have going on as well. But I am looking forward to this. And then the next 2 books are books that are just, completely me books. Books that just seem to come along at the perfect time for me to be interested in them and to find them and to buy them. And the first is Balzac's Lives by Peter Brooks. This is kind of a study of Balzac's work and his life and the intermingling between the two, looking at characters in his books. I love Balzac, and I will tell you that I love books about writers. I realize that it's a little out of fashion in some places to find writers and fascinating, but I do, and Balzac being one of my favorite writers means I'm really looking forward to getting that. And then also, along the same lines, I want to read The Saddest Words, William Faulkner's Civil War, because one of the hosts of Faulkner in August, and this book came along kind of perfectly for our discussion, The Sound of the Fury, because one of the things that I think I and Alan from Big Hard Books and Classics and the fellows over at Codex Cantina mentioned constantly in talking about The Sound of the Fury, and also we talked about, anytime we talk about Faulkner, is the impact that race and the legacy of the Civil War has on his characters and on the world in which he creates. I've really been looking forward to this book for a long time. I've heard some mixed things about it, but I'm hoping that it will prove to be really enlightening and help me learn more about Faulkner and race relations in the South and the Civil War. So those 2 books are just like perfect kind of Brianna bookish books. Also, as you may know, I've been reading a lot of books about social justice and racial inequality and racist injustice in the United States in the wake of the George Floyd murder and the Breonna Taylor murders. And I was inspired to dig deeper than the books I've read by Brianna over at the channel Brianna's Library. They put together a video called Beyond Anti-Racist Reading, which really is a long list of suggestions about books that you can read to go deeper into the issue of the fight for freedom by African American people and the fight against racist injustice. Brianna is a deep thinker. They read deeply in economics and social justice and social history and the history of racial injustice and the fight for equality in the United States. It's a great list of books. I'll leave a link to their channel in that video down below. But along those lines, I picked up 2 books this month, perhaps to read. Our Prison's Obsolete by Angela Davis is probably the one I'm most likely to read because of its length. 5 books a month is about where I come out, and this plus the Toni Morrison book would make 6. So I'm probably going to read that, but I would also really like to get to We Want Freedom, Life in the Black Panther Party by Mumia Abu-Jamal. I became aware of Mumia Abu-Jamal's life and case because of a documentary that HBO produced way back, I think in the 90s, called A Case for Doubt, in which it basically explores the conviction of Mumia Abu-Jamal for the murder of a police officer in downtown Philadelphia. Mumia Abu-Jamal had been a member of the Black Panther Party. He was working as part-time as a cab driver. He was also a journalist. And a police officer named Officer Faulkner was involved in an altercation downtown, and Mumia Abu-Jamal went over to try to break up or try to settle the altercation. The police officer was shot. Mr. Jamal was also shot by the police officer before he died, and Mumia Abu-Jamal was tried, convicted, and sentenced to death for the murder of Officer Faulkner, even though massive evidence suggests that he was not the person who committed that crime. But he is still in jail today. His death sentence was commuted to life in prison, but he is not eligible for parole, and while he's in prison, he's written a number of books, including this book about his life in the Black Panther Party, which is also kind of then a history of the Black Panther Party, its roots, its goals, the government's persecution of the Black Panther Party. And it's a book that I really want to read, so if things go well, I'll hopefully get to that book this month as well. Also got some books in the mail. Marc Nash over at his channel had done a giveaway of books that were on a shelf that he wanted to give away, and you could just write in and he would send you the books you asked for unless there was somebody else, and then he would choose, or I don't know, roll a dice and decide who got them. I got 2 books. One is The Captain and the Glory by Dave Eggers. This is a book that I think Mark enjoyed and thinks that I might enjoy, but more especially to me, I got a book of Mark's flash fiction called Extracurricular Tales Told Outside of School. If you know anything about Mark, you know that there's always some kind of verbal or some kind of play on words involved in that. And my understanding is that the flash fiction stories here kind of take as a model the school day and the curriculum in the school. I'm really looking forward to getting that because I've read Mark's writing in the past, and I think it's great, and so I want to read that sometime soon, but I probably won't get to that this month. As a political person, this time of year has really, and this year has really been driving me crazy. My tensions are high, and so I've been looking for anything to relax myself at all and to take my mind off the possible collapse of democracy with the re-election of Donald Trump. And one of the things I found on YouTube is one of the strangest things I'm going to tell you. For me, that's the least like me thing ever, and that is I've been watching a lot of clean with me videos. These are videos where literally people just video themselves cleaning their house, and there's music and there's voiceover, and they just do the chores involved in cleaning their house. Most of the channels are created by young women who are mothers somewhere in their mid-20s, I think the early 30s. They're all pretty much the same. I don't mean that meanly, because like I said, I enjoy watching these videos as a way of relaxing and kind of losing myself, but it does seem strange to me that somebody who really hates to clean and hates most forms of work would find clean with me videos relaxing. But I do, and frequently to fight insomnia I watch one of those, so I just thought I'd mention that as kind of a weird thing. I do actually also have one channel recommendation to make to you. It's a newish channel that I discovered a little while ago, and I don't think I've shouted her out yet, and that channel's name is Very Literary Kari. I believe she's a librarian. I'm not sure if she's a public school librarian or not. Something tells me that she is. She reads a lot of nonfiction, and she has kind of one of her interests is in JFK and the JFK assassination. I've been enjoying watching her videos and her insights about the books and the books she chooses recently. So, if that sounds interesting to you, then, go check out our channel. And if you like it, like her content, then subscribe. Anyway, there you go. There's my Saturday Hodgepodge for this week. As always, look forward to comments in the comment section below, and thank you for watching.